Good evening, my lovely neighbors. Let me be seated here on a rainy Monday night. Let's hope we don't have a power outage. Could happen. You never know. My little girl, Julie, my little mini schnauzer, is experiencing her first thunderstorm. Needless to say, it hasn't been too quiet around here for the last couple hours. She doesn't like strange noises, least of all large claps of thunder. So I'm going to just go here and look at my screen. It's going to be a little easier for me to see who's, and then maybe not. Maybe I got to refresh this. This is live stream number 4 for me. I was going to do it last week, but I didn't have the head for it, wasn't prepared. Tell you quite honestly, I'm going to be sort of winging it tonight. I didn't prepare any kind of script. There were a couple of requests from people. Bonefish Johnny, who is, for me, a South Florida treasure. Johnny asked me to show how I stack vocals when I do recordings. And background harmonies have always been a big thing for me. And I used to do it really well. My brother does it much better than I do now. But it would be kind of hard to show, orient the camera and show how the tracking goes and whatever. And to be quite honest, the voice is not what it used to be. I struggle for hours to get high parts, and so it would not it would not be very complimentary for me to try to do that. You've all heard my stuff. Yeah, the background vocals I do, they're mostly mine. Occasionally my brother Scott out in California will pitch in and do some stuff for me, and he actually does it better than I do. His voice is still intact, and he has an incredible sense of harmony. I like to think I taught him well. Anyway, cheers to everyone, and I don't know if you can hear Julie barking already. Gosh, where do we start? I'm going to see if we got any questions rolling in. I'm sure there are some. I'm not seeing my screen. I don't know. I guess I have to push play to see. And of course, there's a delay, so I don't want to hear that. Let's see. Scott Sherman, hey buddy. Oh man. Michael Morgan, hey. Love you, man. I miss you. You got to get down here. As soon as that casino opens up, we got to go have some fun. But anyway, I just feel like maybe I should wait a few minutes. Yeah, this is going to be loose, folks. Friend of mine in Pennsylvania, Rick Bell. Yes, he asked me to relate some Dennis Wilson stories. I may have before. You all know Dennis Wilson was the drummer for the Beach Boys, who I got to meet one evening while I was recording at his studio when I was doing my Crane album for Capitol. And I hope I haven't told this before. I don't want to be repetitious. But I was in the studio overdubbing a multitude of guitar parts, and in the middle of a take, I hear the talk back, and it's my manager, Steve, says, Chuck, can you come in here for a minute? Somebody wants to meet you. So I thought, okay. I walk in the control room, and there he is, Dennis. And, hey, man, a big hug, and he asked me if I wanted to listen to some of his songs. Well, it just so happens that Dennis was recording his first solo album, Pacific Ocean Blue, at the same time I was doing my Crane album. So he was in the studio when I wasn't. And so I went out and sat down next to him at the piano, and he started playing these gorgeous chords, obviously influences from his older brother Brian. And we're sitting there, and I'm just listening. Wow, Dennis is playing me unreleased stuff. And then he looks over at me and says, "Hey, want a drink?" "Sure." "Earl, get some booze." Oh, Earl was the engineer on the session. Earl Mankey actually was the guitar player for a group called Sparks. And Earl became a well-known engineer and Beach Boys engineer for years. So about a half hour later, somebody walks in with a shopping bag. And it's got everything drinkable under the sun in it. Rum, vodka, tequila, yada yada. So I don't remember too much after that. I just remember sitting next to Dennis, and Dennis he's starting to get more and more out there. And at one point he just like stops, and then he starts beating on the piano and screaming obscenities like he's gone somewhere over the edge. And this happened to have been at a time when he and his girlfriend Karen were not getting along very well. And that's chapter 2 of this saga. So Dennis and I got hammered, and I listened to his songs, and he, I guess, went home. This is 45 years ago. So a couple of nights later, same thing. Dennis shows up, and now Dennis wants to jam. And, oh gosh, where's my pick? I had this idea for a song for a long time, and it's actually on my second CD. It's called I'm That One. It's a song that I actually ended up playing everything on. This was years later. But I'd had the idea for this. So Dennis comes out and sits down at his kit in the studio, and I'm thinking, oh boy, I got to do this. Just big, that's all I did, just those chords back and forth. And Dennis starts to play in classic Dennis Wilson lumberjack fashion, just blam. Dennis never touched a cymbal. It was all floor tom and snare on the backbeat and kick, and just the earth shook. So we're jamming away, and I'm loving this. I'm thinking, wow, I hope tape's rolling. I don't think any tape was rolling, but he comes to a fill, where you digga 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 digga. Well, with Dennis, it ain't digga digga digga. It's thunderclaps. He goes through every single head on the kit. He doesn't know it because he's beyond knowing too much. And we finished jamming, and we're sitting at the piano, and all of a sudden, Earl comes over the talkback. "Dennis, Karen is here." And he goes, "Tell her I'm not here. Don't let her in. I don't want to see her. Don't." "Dennis, she knows you're here. Your car's outside." "Don't let her in. I don't want to see her." So he starts playing the piano again, and all of a sudden the big studio doors open behind us, and there's Karen Lamb. Gorgeous girl. And Dennis looks over at her, and she says, "Dennis, are you working on my album?" "Go away, we're working." Well, I start to get up from the piano bench because I've heard of these incidents before, and I don't want to be a part of it. As I'm getting up, he puts his hand, "Sit down, we're working." Karen, a couple of seconds later, walked away, and that was the end of that. But, and again, we proceeded to get whatever, and the night ended with Dennis tearing up my studio bill for the entire day. He felt bad that he had interrupted me, so he tore up what probably amounted to a $600 or $700 studio bill. God bless you, Dennis. I didn't see Dennis again until 5 years later, when Firefall did a 3-week summer tour of 1983 with the Beach Boys. By that time, Dennis was almost unrecognizable. He was 39 years old and looked 70. And I guess he didn't remember me. I don't think he remembered too much. He still got up and played, God knows how. But he would sit, during our opening set, he would sit sort of off to the side on my side of the stage watching us. And actually, the last time I saw Dennis was at the Saratoga Springs. I don't know the name of the hotel. It was in Saratoga Springs. It was our last show of the night. And it was a great show. My brother got up and actually played along with Mike Kowalski and Johnny, Jock, and I. And we all went out and sang background on their last song, Fun, Fun, Fun. Went to the hotel the next morning. I get up, I go to breakfast. And this is a very classy hotel. It's Sunday morning. There's families, kids, eating in this beautiful white linen tablecloth restaurant. And I'm sitting there by myself having my breakfast, looking at the paper. All of a sudden I see Dennis poke his head into the restaurant through the double doors, and he's disheveled and he looks like trouble. And I'm thinking, oh God, if he sees me, he's going to come over here, and then I'm part of it. So I held up my newspaper. And to this day, I feel kind of crappy about doing that, but that was the last time I saw Dennis. December 28th, 1983, he drowned in Marina del Rey. And that's my Dennis story. Let's see if I can see any questions. David J. Hey, buddy. Yeah, man. Skitty, Saratoga Springs. Yeah, it was Saratoga Springs. Yes, you were still in the group. And that was probably the best gig that we had of that particular time. I mean, the best gig I can remember was the second gig we ever did, and that was opening for Bob Seger at McNichol's the night after we did our debut at the Boulder Theater in Boulder. But, okay, let's see. Beatles. Somebody, I don't know who. You can't go wrong with Beatles, right? Well, I've said this before, and say what you will about my comment here. I think 60 or 70% of the sound of the Beatles was Paul McCartney's stunningly brilliant bass lines. You listen to those bass lines now, 50, 60 years later, and they're still untouchable. But the real glue for me as a guitar player was John Lennon's rhythm playing. And a lot of what he did was pretty much stolen from Chuck Berry, but I think John took it to another level. The guitar, the rhythm part in that's George starting on 12th string. Got something to say that might cause you pain if I get just that power. And he uses that same kind of style in that's all he's doing. And then when they get to that solo, he's doing just without the bass and the drums. It doesn't really sound spectacular, but John had this magical gift of counterpoint and rhythm. Of course, you can forget probably the greatest rhythm part ever played, which I can't even play anymore. That All My Lovin', triplets against the regular 4/4 swing. Now, I'm going to say I have listened to Beatle records over and over trying to find those hidden gems, and it seems like every time I listen to an old Beatles song, I hear something new. All My Lovin' is probably my second or third favorite song of all. I watch a lot of bands, a lot of these tribute bands that do Beatles stuff. And George, at least what he was doing on the Sullivan Show, was sort of like an offbeat thing. While Lennon's going, close your eyes, George is the upstroke. I would swear that's what he's doing. Now, on the record, it sounds like it's mostly John until the solo, which I can't do anymore, but I listened real close. And on the record, there is acoustic rhythm guitar. It's there. If you really, really listen for it, you'll hear it. And it sounds like it probably was played by George, because he's playing, if it's George playing the acoustic rhythm, it's that up, which works perfectly against the triplets. All right, All My Lovin'. And then there's, Long Tall Sally. Why he had that short neck, because that stretch with a pinky is murderous. And by the way, Long Tall Sally is not straight 4/4. It's a shuffle. It sounds like something that Earl Palmer might do because of that New Orleans semi-shuffle, semi-straight thing that they do magically somehow. But Long Tall Sally it swings. It doesn't go straight. All right. Hi, Lizzie. How you doing? Bring who on camera? All right. Oh, another Lennon rhythm part that just blows my mind, and I'm not even sure I'm playing the right chord inversions. These are what it sounds like to me on the record, but what's nuts is he holds that one beat. A lot of guys will go, it's it doesn't sound like it should work, but that was the brilliance of John Lennon. So, did anybody happen to catch that insane Russian guitar player? I posted it twice on my Facebook page. The guy sort of reminds me, is it Stanley Jordan, the guy that does the double whatever? It's on my Facebook page. I've never heard any. I mean, Tommy Emmanuel is still, for me, the greatest living guitarist. But boy, this guy would give Tommy a run for his money. I'm telling you. It's a Russian name. I can't even pronounce it, much less spell it. But Jimmy Bledsoe, hey man, my own show. Well, this is my own show, Jimmy. Mitch, you saw it, of course. I'm gonna. Tommy Emmanuel is probably more influenced by Chet Atkins than anybody, as am I. And I could just sit and do this for hours. I'm just going to noodle here and see how far I get before I crash and burn. Hey, Randy. Yeah, the Russian guy is nuts. Les! Let's see what else we got here. Dana Paul, hey man. All right, buddy. I miss you. We got to do some jamming again soon before we both get too old. Lennon on Your Blues. I'm not even sure. There's a point in time, believe it or not, where I kind of shifted gears. Of course, Sgt. Pepper, yes, that you couldn't help not pay attention. But around 1965, late 65, I kind of shifted gears because of a friend of mine who turned me on to the Beach Boys, and I went completely over the edge with Brian Wilson, Beach Boys harmony, and I won't say I ignored the Beatles, but my biggest Beatle influences were the first 2 or 3 albums. The White Album, I never really got it. I know it has its merits. I don't know if Your Blues is from that, Mitch. I don't know. But of course, Rubber Soul and Beatles 65. But there was a time when I was completely, totally focused on Beach Boys. I had been in this Beatle tribute band. Well, we weren't really, everybody was a Beatle tribute band in 1964, 65. But and what's really strange is that the crossover came, oddly enough, when this band I was in called the Aerovons got a gig to open for the Beach Boys at Yankee Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. And this was something, I think a guy I went to high school with actually promoted this show. And he made an all-day deal of it. He decided to get 10 local bands to play before the Beach Boys. The Morlocks, I think the Undertakers, a whole bunch of different local bands. And my group, the Aerovons, at the time were pretty prestigious and pretty well known. So we got the last slot before the Beach Boys. And that was a pretty big deal. Only we never got to play. We got bumped at the last minute because there was no time left. They wanted to get on and get out of there, and we got bumped. And it was pretty traumatic for guys that had waited all day to perform in front of all their friends and family. And they promised us a shot the next night at Miami Beach Convention Center. They said, well, come down there, we'll put you on. And we got bumped from that because we were not union. Well, anyway, one of the fellas in the band, a dear old friend of mine, Denny Williams, was a Beach Boy freak. And at that time, we were doing the Beatles stuff. I thought, Beach Boys, cars, surfing, girl, yeah. And my friend Denny said to me, he said, no, he said, you got to look beyond that and see what's really there. So I started listening, and I got hooked. And the next thing I know, the Aerobons are wearing striped shirts and doing nothing but Beach Boys. But I don't know where I was going with all this. But there's a lot of Beatles stuff that I either missed or didn't pay attention to, and that's probably from an album that I was not listening to at the time. My favorite stuff is still the earliest. My Desert Island album is Beatles' second album. For me, the most exciting pop record ever made is She Loves You. Nothing will ever come close to that record in terms of sheer energy and jubilance, or whatever, if there's a word. I remember the first time I heard the Beatles, and I was playing in bands before the Beatles. And it's funny, in those days, the rhythm player turned his treble all the way off, and it was muddy in the lead, bright. So the first time I heard I Want to Hold Your Hand, I think, what the hell is that goofy... So what is that guitar sound? That doesn't work. That's not right. And at that point in time, I thought, these Beatles, I don't know. And then I heard She Loves You, and I damn near drove off the road, because that guitar sound, Lennon's rhythm, George's lead, the harmonies, the drums, what was not to like? I mean, that's, for me, the greatest pop song ever recorded. Skit. Yeah, the hi-hats. You know, I wonder if it was the hi-hats or was he just pounding the crap out of the ride cymbal. You watch the concert footage, and that shh is, I think it's ride cymbal. I could be wrong. You're the drummer. I don't know. Yes. Hey, Steve. How you doing, buddy? All right. Yeah, Beatles. Oh, gosh. Okay. Gigs, most memorable gigs. Well, I probably related this before. When I was with the Long Run, I did 340 plus shows with the Long Run in the 5 years I was with them. And boy, we had some great shows. The cruise ships, those were really neat. But the gig of all time, I guess in terms of sheer numbers in the audience, would have been at the Three Rivers Festival. I can't pronounce the name of the town, Troy Riviere, whatever. It's between Montreal and Quebec City. And they have this music festival every year, or maybe every two, I don't know. We got booked as the headlining act for this festival. And the group that was on just before us was like the #1 heavy metal band in Canada. And these guys were just ridiculous. I mean, I'm thinking, how the hell are we going to follow these guys? They're Canadian, they're whatever. But we went out and did our thing, and we had heard there were over 19,000 people I remember it was a beautiful little town. From the stage, you could see the little streets and as far as you could see, there were people shoulder to shoulder in the streets in front of the bandstand. Incredible show. That's probably one of the biggest. We played in Firefall, opening for Bob Seger and the Beach Boys. Those were pretty memorable gigs. Playing Quebec City with the Long Run at the Capitol Theater. And the Capitol Theater is over 100 years old, and it's been renovated a couple of times. It's gorgeous, gorgeous theater. Incredibly good sound, a wonderful audience. That was an experience. Gosh, memorable gigs. Well, I can remember one. It's funny, I was just thinking of Sonny Boy. I don't know if you're watching. I miss you, and I cannot imagine what you were going through with all this. My heart breaks for any musician that had a tour and is sitting home now. But in 2004, my dear friend Coco Montoya called me to go play in South Korea at the Osan Air Force Base. Actually, the gig itself, I'm sorry to say, was not one of the better ones. We played inside in a nice room, stage and lights PA, but it was during the day, and we really didn't have much of an audience. It was kind of like a family barbecue thing for the service people and the families that were stationed there. But the flight to South Korea, my God, it was 13, 15 hours. It was a tough flight, and what made that flight going there all the more difficult for me was the fact that we had at that time a Cat 5 hurricane, I can't even remember the name of it now, that was aimed straight for Fort Lauderdale. And I could not get out of going to this gig. I was beside myself leaving my family to face this monster storm, but anyway, long story short, I got there. The first thing I did was turn on the TV in the hotel room, and thank God the hurricane had taken a southern dip, and we were spared. But that was an unusual one, South Korea. There have been so many gigs. Game, I've had people ask me about Game. I've gone through the history. Game evolved from basically one band that went through a 2 or 3 member change. We had our day here in South Florida. There was a point in time where we were opening for Ike and Tina, Van Morrison, B.B. King, Johnny Winter, Allman Brothers, at all the different venues at the time, Pirates World, High Lie, the Marine Stadium, Sportatorium, which, boy, if you remember Sportatorium out at the end of Hollywood Boulevard, 2-lane road in and out, what a nightmare that was. But we had some really, really, really great gigs in Game. Okay. Oh, you've probably all seen my posts about my new old car. Well, at this point, I'm having my doubts about CarMax. You have to wonder how well they really go over those cars they get. I mean, we've had good luck the last 2 times. 2 Hyundais, 2 wonderful cars that have never given us a day's trouble. But this new one I have is, I don't know. It may have a bad transmission. I'm going to find out pretty soon. But it's kind of a sick feeling when you get a car you're so crazy about and then it starts to burp here and there. But we'll see. I'm sure everyone will get the latest updates when I get around to whatever. Let's see. Zona, Janis Joplin. Oh my God, that's right. I'd forgotten that. See, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I turned 74 between the last thing and this one, and I feel like I may have lost a couple of memory cells along the way. But yes, we did open for Janis Joplin, and was that the gig where Eddie sang the last note of a song, and he sang so hard that he collapsed his lung on stage and had to be taken away in an ambulance after the last song. Not sure that was the gig, but that actually happened. Eddie Keating was basically the lead singer of Game, and to this day I've not heard a more powerful voice than Eddie's. Eddie was a little 5'6", 100-pound soaking wet guy who had the voice of a giant. Yep. Eddie had to go. Wow, Mandalay Barker. Hey, wow. Nice to see you here, Mandalay. Man. Yeah, Game. Wow, what a group. Yeah, and I think probably our best gig, and we were so fortunate to have gotten it recorded. Our best gig was probably the Pirates World, 2 nights in a row. New Year's Eve 1970, New Year's Day 1971, where we were the opening act for Johnny Winter. And Johnny Winter recorded the Johnny Winter and album at this particular venue, and we were the opening act. Well, Criteria got the gig to record Johnny Winter, and I was working there as an engineer at the time, so we were fortunate enough to have gotten recorded that night on 16-track. I still have the 2-inch masters in my garage. They're probably melted by now, but I do have the mixes, and that was an unbelievable night. I think we closed the show, maybe we didn't close it with MacArthur Park, but MacArthur Park was quite an undertaking for a 5-piece band, but we pulled it off. And then I think we encored with Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, an electric version of that, and it absolutely brought the house down. Game, yeah, that was one very special band. Yeah. B.B. King, Pirates World. Yep. I don't remember a whole lot about that one. I remember I remember opening for Van Morrison at Sportatorium, and I remember standing next to Van in the men's room as Van threw up right before he went on stage. Of course, Van, we all know, is a heavy drinker, but nonetheless put on a fabulous show. Okay. Shameless self-promotion time. I am finishing up album number 4 in the spare time I've had over the last few months, the last year. I've gathered up a bunch of old tracks and tried to finish them off, put some lyrics and voices to them, and I think I finally have an album that is presentable. I'm in the process of mixing it now. Actually, I may still go back and tweak some things. One of the old Game guys from California, Mark Wise, is putting a Hammond B3 part on a song for me, and I'm not gonna bother with unless CD Baby will still allow downloads only. I do what I do because I love to do it. I've never really made a whole lot of money selling CDs, not that it was the intention. It's the love of the art. It's what we do. But this one will be download only, and I haven't decided yet. I may just put the whole thing up on SoundCloud for all to hear and enjoy. I don't know, but I haven't even figured out a name yet, or there won't be any graphics because there's not going to be a cover. It's just going to be songs. So I will definitely announce when the thing's done and probably start posting stuff, as I often do, on SoundCloud. So I better begin. Okay, somebody wrote a question, but I can't. Let's see. I'm going to go over to the main screen here and see. David Muse. Oh, was he here? Oh, see, I try not to watch the main computer screen because it's delayed, but that's where I can see all the 53 comments. Maybe I better scroll down here and see if there's any questions that have gone unanswered. Oh, Bob Gaffney. Yeah. Bless you, Bobby. I was listening to some old Wolfpack Live from 1989, and boy, what a sweet voice he had. Bob Gaffney. Major, major, major talent. Vocally, guitar. He played bass for Firefall for 3 or 4 years. Phenomenal bass player. Well, I guess these questions don't... Rick Bell, who are you? Who am I? Oh. Yeah, it's amazing. We when we did Ray Lenihan used to put these things on at Funky Biscuit called While We Still Can, and I think there were 3 or 4 of these things. One year, we did it was a partial game reunion. We couldn't get Eddie to come back because of his commitments in California, but Bobby Gaffney came, and Bobby had been a huge Game fan and knew every bass note, every guitar lick, note for note. So we traded bass and guitar through the hour-long or so set that we did of Game. Les Sluring, my brother Scott, we were all there, and it was an incredible evening. I only wish Eddie could have been there with us. That would have made it complete. And I wish I were in shape to do something from the new album, but it's my stuff is very production oriented. I'm fortunate enough to have my little iMac with Pro Tools and Logic and my little collection of guitars and keyboards, and in this little 10 by 11 room I'm able to make albums, make songs. And hey, Michael Murata, love you, buddy. I'm going to put a plug in for you here. If you all haven't heard Michael Murata play guitar, boy, oh boy, this is a rising star if I've ever seen one. And a very, very good friend of mine, and a gentleman, and an absolutely astonishing blues guitarist. Hopefully when this thing is over and we can all go out and hear live music, Michael will be playing somewhere. Do not miss him. Michael Murata. Frozen Love, I've wanted to try to do that by myself, but it's just too much to try to do with one voice. Frozen Love is probably my most ambitious vocal arrangement of my career. I think I spent 6 months arranging the harmonies, getting them tracked to where I could live with them. It's got a lot of stuff in it, like Take Six, very, very heavy-duty jazzy chords with 5 and 6 notes per chord. It's a song that started out as just like a Steely Dan kind of track at work, and I finally started figuring out lyrics for it and made it a song. My brother Scott played drums on it. He overdubbed the drums from his studio in California, so it has a real organic, natural, jazzy feel. That song is on my Keep on Walking CD from 2013, 2014. Robert Gonzalez, hey buddy, how are you? I must have said great bass playing of yours, and that voice too. When this is all over, we got to do some playing, man. Steve Gordon. Oh, wow. Session Stories with Johnny. Okay. Johnny Sanbatero, who has been with the Dave Mason Band for, oh my God, 25 years now. And it's his second go-around. In the early to mid-'80s, Johnny Sanbatero and I were the first call background singers down here because we were so quick. Johnny has an incredible sense of harmony, and a lot of producers were hiring us because we could do the background vocals on a song, a complete song, in probably under 90 minutes. A lot of times bands will go into the studio, and when it gets to doing background vocals, not everybody knows exactly how to voice harmony parts. It's a gift to be able to hear and arrange those vocal parts, one which I feel I've been blessed with. But Johnny has absolutely perfect pitch, and any part you give him to sing, it's there, like that. There's no second take with Johnny. Anyway, Johnny and I got hired by Pete Solly, Tom Dowd. We did background vocals on probably 20 or 30 major albums between 1980, 81, and 85, 86. We were on Meatloaf's Midnight at the Lost and Found album. We were on John Parr's album, and we were on the single Naughty Naughty. You can hear Johnny and I back there. Big record for Johnny and I was the Eric Clapton Money and Cigarettes album, and the hit single Rock and Roll Heart. That's Johnny and I on backgrounds on that. We worked with Henry Paul. We did Peter Frampton's 1985 Premonition album. Gang of Four. Boy, there's just so many records we worked on. But we had this method. We would go out in the booth, just the two of us, and we would figure out the line we wanted to sing, and then the two of us would sing onto one track, and then we'd get another track, and we'd sing the same two parts again to get that nice thick double. And then if we wanted 3-part harmony, we'd call up for a third track, and we would both sing the same third note. So we had a mixture of our voices on one of the same notes, and then two of us on separate notes. And by doing that, we got rid of what can often happen when one guy does all the voices or does all the parts, or 3 people do all the same parts. We got this real nice homogenized blend that, well, the producers loved it. That's we got so many callbacks. Steve, well, we worked for you, Steve. We did some stuff on your records. And what was really fun was when we would get the basic 3-part harmony stacked up, sometimes even triple tracked, so it was just nice and thick. We'd call for another track, and Johnny or I would add these major sevenths or sharp 11ths or ninths, and we'd get the looks from the producers like, what the hell was that? But when you'd play it back and mix it back just right, it sounded really, really sweet. We had a lot of fun, made some decent money, and got on some pretty big records. Yeah. Hi, Sherry. Man, I wish I could come see you guys up there. I know they have a great auto show up there. I can't think of the place that you... Fernandina Beach? Yeah. Beautiful place. You guys did at least 12 tracks. 12 tracks on your thing, Steve? I don't remember. I mean, we recorded a lot of stuff for a lot of people. And then the session business just it kind of dried up. At least it did for us. I don't know who took it over, but by 1988, 89, there really wasn't any more session work. Not for me, anyway. Johnny by himself has been on a bunch of stuff. He was on the Coverdale Page album. He's done stuff with Dave Mason, Dion. Well, I did some stuff with Dion. We both did. By the way, Dion has another album on the way out that has been produced by our own local genius, Wayne Hood. I didn't even know about this till I saw an announcement about a week and a half ago. But I can't wait to hear that, because Wayne is a master producer, musician. Any musician down here in South Florida knows who Wayne Hood is. So, oh gosh. Steve, you were the first guy that I thought of when I heard about Betty. As we all know, we lost a major jewel out of the crown last week, Betty Wright. Just a phenomenal rhythm and blues singer and a wonderful human being. I was lucky enough to get to record Betty when she was all of 15 years old. She would come into the studio with her producer, Willie Clark, that night, and I can't remember much about the singing because, again, it's been almost 50 years, more than 50 years, but this little gal had quite a voice, and boy, what a loss. What a sad loss that was. Yeah. Steve Gordon. I know you were on a lot of her records. You toured with her, and what a great gal. It's funny. Years later, I think I was on a background vocal session. It may have been with Gloria Estefan over at Criteria, and Betty was there. And boy, she just she had the ears. She kind of like ran things, and she knew exactly what to do and when to do it. And what a great woman. Another loss, either yesterday or early today, Ken Osmond. Hey, Squirt, leave it to Beaver. Eddie Haskell. I had the wonderful fortune of meeting Eddie and Beaver and Lumpy. A friend of my brother's arranged a lunch with them. And obviously he had to spend a little money to get him to do it, but we had a private lunch with God, why can't I think of Beaver's name now? Anyway, the three of them. And of all three, the quietest, most mild-mannered one was Ken Osmond. I mean, so the opposite of Eddie Haskell. Yeah, just incredible. But, what a sad loss. And Lumpy, I think he passed about 6-7 years ago. But, that we all grew up. Both my brother Scott and I watched Leave It to Beaver always. So, Jerry Mathers, yeah. But, yeah, there's, it's kind of scary. You see these people leaving us like this. But such is life. Oh, gosh. All right. I'm really sorry, kids, that I didn't have more prepared. I have a list here of things, and one of them I better left for another time, really. As far as current state of affairs, looks like we may be getting back to somewhat of a normal, if you call it that. I went to my nail salon today. I've got to get these done because I need them to play. And they were open, so I have an appointment tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And the restaurants here and there, they've opened the boardwalk, the Hollywood Boardwalk, so you can bicycle and walk down it. Still no beaches, which really, I don't get it, but I guess I understand. As far as us musicians and places to play, my good buddy Jimmy Pyro says that he has a gig at Johnny Brown's in Delray in a couple of weeks. So I guess we're going to see the reopening of some of our music venues. I pray to God we don't lose any more than we have already, because God knows we need places to play. But we shall see. My number one group, Crystal Visions of Fleetwood Mac, we've already lost a couple of very prestigious bookings because of this. Whether we'll recover them or not remains to be seen. I know that we have some dates at the end of summer and into the fall that hopefully we will keep and fulfill. I'm very much looking forward to that, because I love my band and the people in it, and I love the music that we're making. And we'll see. My chops, I got to get back to work. It's kind of hard to sit by yourself. I'm one of these people that I thrive on playing with other musicians, and I can only sit and do the same thing for so long before I get bored to tears. But Jimmy, that's a stretch, buddy. I wish I could play it. I wish I could sing it. The most beautiful Beach Boy, impossible. My good buddy George Terry can do it. I can't. Well, I tried, buddy. I tried. So, well, we're at the top of the hour. I don't really have much more to do. I am. this is Chucky signing off till maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks from now. We'll see. I'll be better prepared next time, I promise. This is a Korean Paul Reed Smith, PRS-24SE. Good night, all. See you next time.